Thank you for tuning into Retrospective Interrupted.
We're dancing all night, dancing all night.
If you value honest conversations that slow things down and actually examine what's happening beneath the surface, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, because these are the conversations people rush past instead of thinking through. Your engagement helps keep these discussions visible. Now let's get into this video.
My homophobic uncle told me that I'm not allowed to wear makeup to his house for Christmas Eve. So get ready with me to do a full beat to go to his house. And he better be ready. Okay, so my whole family is very accepting of me and everything I do. They love that I make videos, they all follow me, except for my one uncle. And he just happens to be hosting Christmas Eve this year, which I thought would be no problem since literally nobody else has a problem with me. Oh, but no! I got a text yesterday night from the uncle in question, and it said, just so you know, you need to leave all of that girly stuff at the door tomorrow. I'm hosting Christmas this year, and I'm not letting my kids be exposed to that. Exposed to that. Yes, I know. And so immediately I'm like, whoa. What happened to hi? How are you? I'm so excited to see you on Christmas. Can't wait to have you. No, none of that. At first I was like, okay, I guess it's his house, it's his kids. He gets to decide who and what comes in the door. But then I slapped myself out of it and thought about it for a second. First of all, his daughter follows me on here. Hey girl. So she's already been exposed to it, whether he knows or not. Second of all, I'm like, I really wanted to take the iconic Christmas Eve Instagram pictures. It's like a rite of passage. And yes, clock the red blush, it's Christmas. And then third and most important of all, nobody is gonna change who I am. Nobody is gonna tell me what I can and can't wear, what I can and can't do, how I can and can't look. I am not changing myself for anyone, especially when it's something so small, stupid, and trivial as me having makeup on my face. How does that affect you? How does that affect your family? How does that affect your Christmas, your party? It simply just doesn't. And so that's what I responded with. I texted him back asking exactly that. How does it affect him, and why does it bother him so much? To which he responded, Jack, I'm not going to argue with you. And if you want to make that choice of who you are, it's probably best if you just don't come. And I was looking at my phone like, oh, hell no! I know he did not just say that. That choice, you've got to be joking. He wants me to stay at home on Christmas instead of being with my family, all because he has a personal problem with who I am? So that's when I said to myself, oh no, sorry babes, that just won't do. Not only am I going to come to your house in makeup, I am going to do the most fierce, heavy, full beat holiday glam that he has ever seen. I'm whipping out the iconic Christmas smoky eye, and I'm adding the shimmer and the big lash, and of course the bright sparkly gloss, because nobody is going to censor me or who I am, especially on Christmas with my family. And here is my finished Christmas Eve look. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. Let's just see how this goes. Also, like, let me know what you guys think. Am I being dramatic? Am I valid for looking this glam? I don't know. Okay, Merry Christmas. Bye guys. Love ya. My homophobic uncle told me that I'm not allowed to wear makeup to his house for Christmas Eve. So get ready with me to do a full beat to go to his house. And he better be. We're in the middle of trying a full face of. My homophobic uncle told me that my homophobic uncle kicked me out for wearing makeup to his house on Christmas. So if you missed part 1 of this story, basically my uncle was hosting Christmas Eve this year. He texted me and told me if I wanted to come, I was not allowed to wear makeup and I had to leave all of that girly stuff at the door. So obviously I went in full glam. So I'm sorry it took a second, but I didn't want to come on here all mad and angry. Let me just tell you exactly what happened. Obviously, right after I filmed and uploaded that video, I went to his house. And at first, everything was fine and dandy. I walked in, I said hi to my whole family. They were all complimenting my makeup, my outfit, everything. And I was like, okay, maybe this won't be so bad. Everybody was in the living room, but my aunt and uncle were in the kitchen getting all of the food and stuff ready. So naturally, I just stayed in the living room. I was trying to kind of avoid them a little bit. And that worked for a little bit until my aunt walked in the living room. And the moment she saw me, I could tell she was like a little bit taken back, but she literally just like gave me a smile and a wave and walked away back to the kitchen. Then literally like less than a minute later, my uncle walked into the living room. So I could tell she probably went in there and was like, "You'll never guess who's here. You'll never guess what he looks like." The moment he walked in, he was like kind of scanning everyone until he got to me. Then he tried to like play it off. He kind of gave like one of these, like looking down, shaking his head. And then he also just walked out. He didn't say anything, and I didn't see him for like an hour then after that until it was time to eat dinner. Because then everyone migrated to the dining room, and it was kind of like a bunch of long tables stacked up next to each other. So obviously me and my uncle weren't like sitting directly next to each other, but you know, we were in the same vicinity. And in my family, we have this tradition where everyone goes around the table at Christmas and says what they're most grateful for that year. It's always very sweet. Everyone gets super emotional. And it was the same this year. My uncle is hosting. He's at the other end, the head of the table. And so he went last. And at this point, low-key, I kind of thought I was like in the clear of him beefing with me, or so I thought. So finally it goes around and it gets to him. And at first, of course, it's very sweet. He's like, "I'm so grateful to have you all here. I'm so grateful to be able to host this." But then, of course, he says, "But," and I was like, oh no, I know there's not a but right now. "But I would be even more grateful if everyone here respected my house rules and what I want for my children." I was sitting there like, okay, just at me next time. Everyone was quiet and we were kind of like trying to decide if he was being funny. Everyone just kind of starts like fake laughing and looking around, and that upset him even more. Then he goes, "I deserve respect, and I feel like not everyone here respects me." He's like glancing to me every 2 seconds while he's saying this. Now my family is starting to kind of like clock what's going on. And then finally my mom was like, "Okay, that's enough," like trying to keep the peace. And it kind of stopped for a second. Then the entire dinner, he kept making comments under his breath about me, saying how like his Christmas is spoiled. He just doesn't get how someone could make that choice and do that to him in his own house. Kind of like thinking that I don't hear it. But girl, the wine was flowing and my ears were tuned in. And so finally, after like the 5th time of him saying his Christmas is ruined, I had had enough. So I looked at him and said, "The only person ruining your Christmas is you." I said, "Everybody else here has had a great night because none of them have a problem with me. And I haven't even said one word to you all night. So why? Why are you so upset with me and why are you being so mean to me?" And he immediately snaps back. He says, "Because I told you to leave all this at home. This is my house. And everybody else here can be okay with it, but I'm not. And you couldn't even respect that for one night?" And I said, "What have you done to earn my respect? I came here to be with my family. Whether it's at your house or not, I don't care. I am not gonna change myself, especially not for you." Through all of this, like my whole family is yelling at us to stop, stop, stop. At this point, I'm like already walking out and he wants to yell from the table, "Yeah, get the fuck out." Like it was his decision. Like I wasn't already at the door. And so I just go, "Yeah, way ahead of you." And so then we just left and promptly went to McDonald's. So needless to say, I don't really think I'll be seeing him anytime soon. But again, let me know down below what you think. Was I trifling for even wearing makeup in the first place? Or am I valid? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. Okay, bye guys. Love ya.
Let's be clear about what actually happened here because the internet skipped straight to outrage and missed the point. The uncle asked his nephew not to wear makeup in his home because he did not want his children exposed to his lifestyle. Whether people agree with that reasoning or not, that was the boundary stated. Not an attack, not a threat, not a banishment, a condition for entering his home. That matters because someone's house is not a public forum. It's a private space, and boundaries in private spaces are allowed. Where this escalated unnecessarily is when the creator decided to double down instead of de-escalate. Rather than addressing the concern or choosing not to attend, he responded by admitting that the uncle's daughter already watches his content anyway, as if that invalidates the uncle's boundary inside his own home. Then he took it further by saying he would wear extra makeup and show up to Christmas dinner regardless. At that point, this stopped being about self-expression and became about defiance, not presence, provocation. Here's the part people don't want to sit with. Exposure through a screen is not the same as exposure in a physical space. Parents make imperfect decisions all the time, but that does not mean they forfeit the right to set boundaries in their own homes. Saying your child already sees it is not a moral override, it's a dismissal. And deliberately showing up to someone's house intending to violate a boundary is not bravery. It's entitlement wrapped in righteousness. This also wasn't about makeup. It was about consent, authority, and respect. Modern ethics doesn't mean everyone must agree with you or adjust their personal space to accommodate you. It means we learn how to navigate differences without turning every boundary into a public trial. You can disagree with someone's values without forcing access to their home. And you can stand in your identity without staging a performance where it isn't welcome. Let's normalize something real quick. House rules exist. Taking your shoes off at the door. No smoking inside. Don't bring certain foods around allergies. Lower your voice after a certain hour. These rules aren't personal attacks. They're agreements for entering someone else's space, and we follow them every day without turning them into identity debates. Nobody says you're erasing my culture because you ask them to take their shoes off. They either comply or they don't come in. That's why this situation didn't need to escalate. This could have been discussed before the uncle hosted. A simple conversation could have asked, is this the right house for Christmas this year? And if the answer was no, the solution was obvious. Let someone else host. Why didn't the creator host dinner at his own house? Or why not another family member, especially since others in the family already accept his lifestyle? That's not exclusion, that's logistical problem solving. What didn't make sense was turning a boundary into a power struggle. One day, without makeup isn't harm. It won't erase your identity. And if makeup defines you so completely that removing it for a few hours feels like a threat, then the issue isn't the uncle. It's a deeper dependency that deserves honest reflection. Identity should be stable, not conditional on presentation. And here's the part people avoid saying out loud. The uncle has the right to raise his children how he chooses under his own roof. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to respect it. Parenting doesn't stop because a guest has different values, and authority doesn't disappear because someone disagrees loudly online. Also, let's be honest for just a moment. You actually look better without the makeup. There's a difference between expression and the armor, and sometimes removing the armor doesn't weaken you, it humanizes you. Strength isn't always about showing up louder. Sometimes it's about knowing when presence doesn't require performance. This wasn't an unsolvable problem, it was a communication failure. Boundaries could have been discussed, hosting could have been reassigned, respect could have been mutual. Instead, it became unnecessary conflict because nobody wanted to step back and choose peace over proving a point. The real teaching moment here was missed on all sides. There was an opportunity for dialogue. Help me understand your concern. Or, here's why this matters to me. Instead, it became escalation disguised as empowerment. Real inclusion doesn't require humiliation, and real boundaries don't require cruelty, but neither one survives when the goal becomes winning instead of understanding. So here's the lesson. Stop confusing boundaries with harm. Stop treating access as a right instead of permission. And stop using moral language to justify behavior that ignores consent. A boundary isn't violence, it's information. And when someone responds to a boundary by intentionally crossing it, that tells you the issue was never misunderstanding. It was control. Now, I want to hear from you. Where have you seen boundaries turned into battles instead of conversations? And on the other side, where might you need to explain your limits more clearly instead of assuming people will understand them? That's the real work. That's the conversation we keep avoiding. And that's why we pause to interrupt the reaction long enough to actually think.
We're dancing all night, dancing.